Deconstructionism, like many other forms of philosophy, quickly found its way into literature. Originally, it was a philosophy first proposed by Jacques Derrida. I'm oversimplifying here, but deconstructionism basically applies a nihilistic approach to structuralism. Structuralism is a philosophy that analyzes the base components a thing is made up of in order to define its worth. And by applying nihilism to it, we are able to realize that the parts themselves don't have to match up at all in order to be beautiful. Just like a word can change in meaning depending on the other words in a sentence, the pieces of a story would be meaningless outside of the whole. Plato would say that everything has its true form, that everything is trying to achieve. A chair, for example, can never be as good as the idea of a chair. Derrida thinks that Plato's way of thinking is crap, and that there is no truth, but by examining the pieces, we can find our own personal meaning. Deconstructionism as a literary tool seeks to break down the core elements of a story, examine their uses and relations to the other pieces, and then reuse them towards a new, improved purpose. A fantasy story where the hero fights against the Demon King is bog standard, especially in Japanese RPGs. What are the pieces of the story? You cannot have a story without conflict, so the core of the tale is the fight between the Demon King and the hero. The characters are the hero and the Demon King. The setting can be anywhere. The theme of the story is good triumphing over evil. But these ideas are childish and simple. So what can we do when we apply deconstructionism to it? What is the driving factor for the hero to defeat the Demon King? Why is the Demon King fighting? What is their motivation? Who's pushing them to fight each other? Who are they as people? Who is the good and who is the evil? Why are they locked in conflict? Now that we've taken apart the pieces, we can examine them individually and begin to put them back together. We still want our hero and Demon King, but what if instead of fighting each other, they teamed up together? That sounds like a cool concept, but where's the conflict? You can't have a story without conflict. One day, Little Red Riding Hood brought her grandma some goodies. That's a sentence, not a story. Who would they fight against? What if the hero and the Demon King fought against the concept of war itself? What if they fought against the entire world in an attempt to bring peace and end the cycle of hatred? What if we looked deeper and discovered the respective roles of Demon King and hero have been passed down through millennia? And why is it cyclical? Which brings me to the subject of today's video, Maoyu Maou Yuusha by Mamoru Tono. The series translates roughly as Archenemy and Hero, and the anime based on the light novel is simply titled Maoyu. The story starts out like a typical Japanese fantasy. The hero leaves behind his party to battle the Demon Lord in an epic fight that will bring an end to 10 years of war. Now, if this were a standard fantasy story, this would be the climax after years of struggle. The hero would go through a difficult childhood of training to defeat the Demon Lord. His party members would have their own internal struggles. They would coalesce into a cohesive unit after nearly being defeated by an unexpectedly strong monster. They'd share hardships and joys together, becoming true friends and better companions. But something would weigh on the hero, and he'd eventually decide that the final battle would be his alone. He wouldn't want to risk the lives of his dear companions. After all, he's so much stronger than they are, and they all know it. So one night he'd sneak off and confront the Demon King on his own. Only this is a deconstructionist fantasy, where we're playing on the tropes of classic fantasy. This time, when the hero confronts the Demon King, he isn't a he at all. She is, in fact, the Demon Queen, and she's beautiful. And this time, when the Demon Queen asks the hero to join her so they can rule the world together, the hero accepts. Not at first, of course. That would be too easy. After all, a hero is still a hero. He is forthright and true and just and honorable. And betraying humanity to rule the world is something no true hero would ever even consider. But what if he's presented with new information? What if she uses logic and reason to prove why they should work together? And so our adorable Demon Queen explains what would happen if the war suddenly came to an end, with her death. Sure, humans and demons would stop killing each other. But soon the money and support the southern kingdoms had been receiving from the northern kingdoms would dry up. Thousands of out-of-work soldiers would turn to banditry. Starvation, famine, and pestilence would follow. More people would die after the war than in the war itself, despite it being a bloody conflict that has lasted 10 years. And on the demon's side, infighting and civil war would break out until the new Demon Lord reigns supreme. Then the conflict would begin anew, as it had time and time again. But what if there was another solution? What if they teamed up and tried to see what was on the other side of that horizon? The horizon called peace. Maoyu Maou Yuusha is a masterful example of a deconstructionist retelling of a typical Japanese fantasy. All the tropes we have become familiar with over the last 35 years through games like Dragon Quest and anime like Record of Lodoss War are there, but they've been re-examined, given new life, and polished till they shine. I highly recommend this anime for anyone looking for an interesting story. Thank you once again for watching my video. My name is Danon, and I'd like to thank my editor Cute Stuff for making this video possible. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you again next week.